I live with my grandparents. My grandpa's a war veteran. He once drove army trucks, was wounded twice. By old age, he was simply paralyzed. Then he had a stroke, and now he simply doesn't speak at all. He just lies there, making sounds like a cow. I help with little sound. I just have little things. I change channels. I adjust his blanket. But before May 9th, we put his ceremonial uniform with medals on him. Grandma sits nearby, flips through albums, reads aloud a congratulatory letter from the administration. It's quite ordinary, very standard. There's nothing particularly out of the ordinary. But when it's read to Grandpa, I see a certain liveliness appear in his eyes, a joy. And that joy is sincere, truly genuine. In the morning, we sat at the festive table. Then I went to the computer. The internet, other people's lives, their private, intimate moments. I would just watch, and I'd feel so incredibly empty, so utterly alone, as if I was completely shut out from normal, everyday reality. The final straw came with a message from an old classmate of mine. He sent me some really explicit pictures of his girlfriend. Just like that, and at that very moment, something broke inside me. A desire, anger, and envy. Everything just mixed together. I realized then that I was losing all control. My grandmother wasn't at home. My grandfather was lying there in the living room, and I committed an act. A deed that simply cannot be justified, not in any way. I then took out some old condoms, the very ones that I'd been keeping since I was just 15 years old. They were almost dried up. I put them on and felt warmth from Grandpa. It was quite disgusting, but at the same moment, I felt pleasure as if I was enjoying it. And I crossed the boundary, beyond which there are no longer any explanations. It was utter destruction, my own undoing. I stopped too late when Grandpa was already completely covered in my fluid. After the panic came fear and trembling. I rushed around the apartment trying to wipe away the traces from the floor from Grandpa, but I felt like everyone around knew. The walls heard that Grandpa would somehow be able to tell that there were some hidden cameras here. When Grandma returned, I didn't leave her side for a single step. I chattered, I interfered, just so she wouldn't go near Grandpa. Then I went outside, decided to call my friend just to distract myself, to hear something different from someone else. But I didn't hear a single word, not a single question, and I had only one question in my head: how could I have simply done that? How could I have allowed it to happen? My grandfather, who taught me how to drive a car, who taught me how to ride a scooter, I just decided to try and feel his warmth. That evening I came home. Grandma was watching a holiday concert, the parade. I asked if there was anything to eat. Everything was as it usually is, warm, hot, just general warmth. And as she was already at the door, she told me, "Can you believe it? Today I walked into the house and I saw Grandpa crying." And I'm watching the war on television. She's still suffering from it. She keeps remembering the war. And in that very moment, my entire world just crumbled. I walked away into the kitchen and I just broke down and cried. Not quietly, not gracefully, but with that raw, ugly cry you let out when you finally understand that you have to live with this. I understand that I don't deserve any kind of excuses or justifications. I simply want to understand how I can possibly go on living. But the one thing I truly learned from this is that there are certain actions that will forever divide your life into a before and an after. And after that day, the sound in the apartment changed. Not at once, but gradually. At first I thought it was pipes or the TV, but at night the silence became too dense, as if someone was carefully breathing with me. And since Grandpa's room, the living room actually, was just one room away, I simply knew he was lying on the couch. As always, because his eyes were wide open, I found myself simply afraid to even look at him anymore. Not because he might do something to me, but simply because he saw. And it wasn't with his eyes. He felt it with something else. Sometimes while I was switching channels, I would notice the screen go dark for a split second, and in the black reflection, it wasn't my own figure that would appear, but my grandpa, staring intently right at me. And Grandma started speaking, began to tell that at night he moans, she said, and cries. The word hangman got stuck in my head like a splinter. I started waking up from rustling sounds, from footsteps. The dreams were all the same. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I move closer and I start to hear some whispers. I hear a military march, but the notes sound all wrong, as if someone had completely inverted the melody. During the day, everything was worse. In my grandfather's medals, I saw my reflection, distorted, fragmented. Sometimes it seemed to me that one of them was warm. One day, my grandma asked me, "Are you talking to Grandpa or doing something with him when I'm not here?" And then my heart just sank. I didn't understand what she meant. She said, "He's been listening to someone all day today." From that moment on, I stopped being alone with him, but I didn't know what to do. Sometimes I thought my grandpa moved his lips differently, not mooing, but trying to repeat words, my words. I started to hear a phrase I'd never said aloud. "Now you're lying here too." Landai abalai guradiru na fani. And on the night of May the 9th, a year had passed. I dreamed that we were once again putting his uniform on him. But the medals, they were not his own. They felt heavy and sticky. Each one reflected me at a different age. At the dream's end, my grandfather spoke for the very first time.
He spoke a single powerful word to me: live. I woke up, my face wet with tears, and then realized it had all been nothing but a dream.